Many thanks for staying tuned. Let's delve straight to the conversation, and we're taking Rivers. The big questions is the Rivers political crisis deepening? Is it deepening or is it cooling off? Who's really in charge and what's at stake for ordinary people in Rivers State? As the state navigates governance, local polls, and the long shadow of 2027, we're asking where is Rivers truly headed? Well, talking to us to gain insight in the fast-shifting political ground in Rivers, we've invited someone who understands both the undercurrents and the overt signals coming out of Port Hackett and Rivers State generally. A political scientist and governance expert, Professor Robert Dode, joins us virtually on the program. You're welcome, Professor, Niger Delta Today.
Good afternoon, Professor Robert.
Thank you for having me here. Sorry, I hear the network is making it difficult for us to see one another while talking about it. Okay, we can go with the voice.
It's okay, and it's good you get to join us on Niger Delta today. Well, we're looking at the political landscape in Rivers State. Since the declaration of the state of emergency in the state, there has also been some development, and now after the postponement of the local government elections, which was meant to hold in August 9, it's been shifted to August 30. The question of what is the situation like with all of the conversation on the consensus candidates for the political parties of the All Progressives Congress and the PDP? What do you make of all of these developments in Rivers State?
Well, thank you. I guess you'll have to probably remind me again if I lose touch with this primary question. But I should begin by letting you know that apart from being a professor of political science, governance is my specialty, especially the Niger Delta, where I've devoted the past 20 years plus conducting my research. I grew up in Port Harcourt, Ubina Valley, in the 70s, early 80s. I attended Army Children's School, GRA. I attended then Upper Grammar School, Zoba. It was only my tertiary education that took me to the University of New York, my first 2 degrees. My PhD was obtained from the University of Port Harcourt, 2005. And to cap it off, my wife is from Rivers State, Korea Road, just by my fault. So that gives you an idea of my depth of knowledge of not just Rivers State, but especially Port Harcourt, Obiapo, and the environs. Consequently, when it comes to issues that have to do with Rivers State, I'm as passionate as I am when it has to do with every other state in the Niger Delta. So having established that background, I think I should let us know that to every discerning mind, to every academia who is neutral in the events going on in the Niger Delta, especially Rivers State, they will agree with me that it has been a worrisome situation. That the River State that we grew up to know, a place of peace, a place of progress, a place of advancement, where you saw and met with all classes of people. I grew up when the whites were still in another class. We shuttled between Ubina Valley and another class. And suddenly, it's like all those good things we could say and know about River State suddenly atrophied. Why? Because of political shenanigans, because of individuals who have placed self before others, before the citizenry, individuals who have subverted to themselves the collective lives of the entire River State people. So, my brother, my sister, it is something that calls for worry, but beyond worrying, it is also something that calls for a way forward, and I'm sure that's why we are here to analyze some of the issues that have to do with Rivers State. So, as a researcher, as a person, as an in-law to Rivers State, as somebody grew up in Rivers State, I think I am so much worried about the political development in Rivers State. And not just before the suspension of the governor, but even from when he was elected.
All right, Professor Dode, let's start from a wide lens. When people say that the political realities in Rivers is usually volatile, are they speaking from a place of full in-depth understanding of what Rivers State is like when we talk about politics? or is it a misconception? When did this start, and when did we get to this point in Rivers State? Now, talking about the current realities on ground, do you think that the political actors have a really grounded role to play in all of the realities we are seeing now? And do you think that the efforts that they have made so far towards ensuring that there is harmony fully restored in Rivers State has been commendable, or are they just playing to the gallery or trying to create a narrative where the impression is that they are actually interested in peace, when indeed it is not really about the peace? It's just about selfish interests at the end of the day. How committed are the political players in Rivers State to the peace process in the state?
Yeah, I think if I take on the first tranche of the question, it will be a misconception to brand River State as a state that is politically volatile. No. As I said, I saw as a boy in 1979, I saw a tree, and I've seen up to at least 2005 when I relocated from River State to Carbon State, where I lectured then with my wife and my children. No, River State remains, for me, is still one of the most peaceful states in the Niger Delta. I don't want to name names. I don't want to call it a state. What has happened in recent times is not a complete, comprehensive, and true exposure of the River State that we know. Rather, as you stated, a few political gladiators have chosen to use that state now as an experimentation ground on how you can initiate, sustain, and perpetuate your personal objectives in the political life of the people. That's also what's happening. So I think most of the utterances from the political class in recent times are just intended as washing, deceiving the people and giving a wrong picture of what is really on ground in Rivers. Because I can tell you, is it the relationship between the Calabari and the Queen and the Joe and all others, even the non-indigenous. Rivers State in the Niger Delta is about one of the most welcoming states in the Niger Delta. When you talk about Rivers State, you talk about those states. I can tell you the truth. So I think and I know that if the political class check their consciences and you choose to, put man than put the 1804 says, conscience than open one, only truth can heal it. If they choose to be altruistic in their motives and their utterances, Rivers State will become a better place as it has always been. So I agree with whoever is saying that the political class have not been sincere enough in tackling the issues that have brought Rivers State here. And those issues are all architectured by them, the political class. Anytime they choose to say, let's put this behind us and let's put the greater Rivers State interest in front, you see that Rivers State will begin to bubble again.
Well, talking about the greater interest of the Rivers people, on the 18th of March this year, the President had declared a state of emergency to douse the tension and the political rifts that ensued between the suspended governor, Seminalai Fubara, and the lawmakers in the State House of Assembly. And following that, there has been comments with regards to the emergency that there has been peace, some level of peace, relative peace across Rivers State. And with the upcoming local government elections, do you think that you'd share this opinion that there has been relative peace, and this in somewhat way might or might not have some impact on the planned local government elections?
Yeah, I stand to be corrected if I dare say or state that before 18th March or thereabouts, when the state of emergency was declared, there was no emergency in Rivers State. Yes, that there were these altercations and disagreements between the executive and the state arm of government. It's a normal thing in democracy, especially when we know that the case of the House of Assembly was like the voice of Jacob and the hands of Israel, or whatever you call it. We knew that. It was so clear. There are states in Nigeria that require declaration of state of emergency. There are states in Nigeria where at times in a day 300 people are killed, 150 are killed, buried in mass graves. You have not declared state of emergency there. It's a place where you saw somebody demolished the state house of assembly in the name of he wants to review this and this and that. So I totally disagree at initial with the declaration of that state of emergency. And I hope and I wish that our president could draw back the hands of the clock and correct the damage that has been done to political development in a state as good as Rivers State. Now, fast forward it and bring it up to the so-called local government elections, which were supposed to hold, I think, sometime August 9th and now has been shifted to 30th of August or thereabout. The question is this: under what banner are they going to organize this election? Will you have an undemocratic system conducting a democratic election? How can you have an anomaly at the state level in the name of a sole administrator, a general, because there is nothing like a child admiral in the army, an admiral, who is managing the affairs of the state? Well, let me use that word cautiously. Now you conduct an election under that regime. What do we call this? Because we have so many contraptions for some of this illegality, but I've never seen this side. That you have an undemocratic leadership at the state level, and now you want to conduct elections at the local government level. This is, I don't know what to call this political contraption, but I think they are giving us reason to go get into our dictionaries and begin to evolve some words that are novel. But for me, this is an abnormality.
But Professor Robert Dode, we can't deny the fact that there has been some level of peace brought into Rivers State, considering the fact that the House of Assembly lawmakers were about to impeach the governor, and with so much, once the House of Assembly is not in order, that affects law and order in the state. But with that declaration, we've seen in visuals where there have been resolutions between the lawmakers and the suspended governor of Rivers State, where they have both agreed to work together for the peace and interest of Rivers State. Don't you think that's some plus brought in by the state of emergency declared?
Am I being told there that it is undemocratic to the governor? Is it so? No, let's take that. I'm a political scientist. I don't take sides in any of these things. I'm an unbiased analyst. I'm telling you that if the governor had committed any act that is impeachable, it was even wrong to stop the process. However, if the governor too had not committed any act that is impeachable, there was nothing wrong. We should have allowed the political process to play itself out. If the legislators choose to become gangsters, the courts are there and other means of resolving such matters. So telling me that bridging that has solved the problem. I don't know the kind of problem it solved. It solved the problem of suspending a democratically elected governor. For goodness sake, no, I will not chew that meat pie if it is given to me. For me, yes, you can say that slightly the state was being heated up because of the relationship between the executive. It is normal. We have seen in Nigeria where somebody has carried the mace and run away. We have seen, even though that is not a good example, but we are saying that that was not enough reason. I can tell you the truth. As I said, I am still tied to Rivers State. I'm still tied to Port Harcourt. I didn't see anything too serious in what was happening to Warren. That sudden declaration of that state of emergency. Now you are telling me that they are reaching some kind of truce. Who says so? By the time they come back after September 10th or thereabout, who tells you what will happen next? Does it not mean that suddenly the whole thing committed by the governor, as they say, has been forgiven him? Under what power? So let's just face facts. That emergency declaration at the initial was faulty. I don't know who advised our president.
All right, Professor Dode. Well, another thing that
talking about an election, yeah.
Another thing that really strikes a chord is the timing of the local government polls. A lot of calls had come in regarding the need to reinstate the democratically elected government of Siminalayi Fubara in Rivers State. A lot of stakeholders in the state have also spoken on the need. But then, we are hearing of a new local government polls after the other one was nullified, and
Yes.
this one is supposed to be conducted. But then some people are wondering, what are the odds that this new poll that has been announced for August 30 is designed or carefully orchestrated so that it can be conducted before the governor is reinstated? Do you think that there is any relationship between the two?
But if you follow the trend of my arguments when we started, it's a sham, it's a parade that's about to take place. You cannot hurriedly conduct a local government election when the sitting governor is under suspension. Moreover, after 30 years, you have about less than 2 weeks for him to be reinstated. Why the hurry? If the one that was constituted and was changed at 50-9, why not wait? Why this hurry to conduct this election better? I read some articles, some party stalwarts say they are ready and they were never conducted before, blah, blah, blah. They are all political gladiators who are feeding from this crisis in River State. And I hope and I wish that the River people will shine their eyes and come to the reality of the fact that a few people are taking advantage of the poll. My brother, I will never be in support of an election, whether at the local government level or at the state level, that will be superintended or supervised by a military administrator. It's a political abnormality. In fact, it's a democratic suicide. That's what it is. A democratic suicide.
But Professor Robert Dode, the date for the local government election is fixed, and the People's Democratic Party, alongside the All Progressives Congress, have agreed.
Even the Labour Party, after I've read all this, the leaders, yeah.
They've all agreed to be a part of the local government election. We understand that the previous one that was conducted under the suspended governor, Siminalayi Fubara, there were some sects that withdrew from the election. But then we see that even in the space of the state of emergency, the parties have come together to be a part of this local government election. Don't you think that's a good thing and should be welcomed?
Please ask these parties, so-called party leaders, whether they are Democrats. If they answer you in the positive, ask them to tell you the statement of democracy. Whether you can conduct an election under a draconian regime. Please, I don't like when people begin to think what broadcast. What is inside is dead and rotten already. There's no need to whitewash. And the fact remains that any person who gives his or her consent to an election being conducted under an undemocratic regime, it's not a Democrat. I don't care what they are. They are free to be party leader. After everybody is a leader in his own house. We are talking about democratic ethics, ATHOS. Democratic ethics. That under these principles of democracy, an undemocratic body cannot, should not, and has never conducted a democratic election. If you conduct this election, I put it to you, it is nothing but a sham. So, with due respect to their opinions and their desire to have it done hush, because their own interests are also being protected, I want to let everyone who is discerning know that this is an undemocratic act that's about to take place. And if there are discerning individuals in River State, they have a right to go to the court of law and challenge this democratic anomaly.
Well, Professor Dode, the curious question to ask is, what is the value of the voice of suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara in all of this at this time? Do you think that his reaction or sort of his appearance in all of this could bring some level of calm, or is he simply being calm because of a missed opportunity to assert leadership? Is he being strong-armed to endure all of the activities or events happening in River State currently? Does he have options that he could explore towards ensuring that the right thing is done? As you have said, these upcoming election is actually a sham and undemocratic.
Well, sorry, I didn't want to take on personalities in the course of this interview, but since you pushed me this way, I can just give a little idea of my thinking about the personality involved. accepted leadership position, you have become altruistic in motive and in action. Consequently, your life is no longer your life. That is one thing that many people are afraid to realize in accepting leadership position. This, for me, is not a reason for the suspended governor to remain mute, to remain quiet. He has a number of people who have tied their lives to him. A number of people who have followed him, and whether he believes it or not, their lives, their properties, their interests, their businesses are already in jeopardy because of his own conviction. Consequently, it is expected of him to make, even if not daily utterances on the goings on in the state that he is supposed to be the elected governor. I can tell you, with due respect, I am not too impressed at his disposition. I hear that some people are naturally introverts and extroverts. It doesn't come in governor. As long as you have accepted this level of leadership, the responsibility has been placed on your shoulder, and you just have to carry it. So whether he says anything now or not, I don't know whether it is late or it can still be useful, because to a large extent, he is like a leader who seems to have thrown his two arms in the air to say, well, I don't have another thing to do anymore. No! As long as a leader is alive, he must give his or her followers the impression that, look, come rain, come shine, I'm ahead of you. I'm your leader. I'm taking you to where you may not have seen before, but a better place than where you are. So that is leadership. A leader cannot just fold his arms, join the masses, and then say, see what they're doing to us. What are they doing to you? You just have to speak it out. Somebody say, look, if you say something, sorry, I can use this already, you die. If you don't say something, you die. But in this case, nobody is even killing you. If the opponents are busy articulating views and doing things, it is wrong for him on the other side of the divide just to fold his hands and say, let anything happen. No. Our children used to sing the song, whatever will be. Whatever will be will never be. Men cause what will be to be. Even in physics, the law of motion says every object remains in a permanent state of rest until force is applied. So I am thinking that yes, Governor Sima Fubara has a role to play. If he has been sleeping on the bicycle before now, he needs to wake up. What is his opinion about the so-called forthcoming election? He should air his opinion, and I'm telling you, it can help shape the things that are happening with us.
Well, with the whole situation, do you foresee a quick or early reinstatement of the suspended governor, Siminalayi Fubara, understanding the situation that the governor recently had meetings with the president, and then the meeting of the resolution of crisis between his predecessor and himself, as well as the lawmakers of the State House of Assembly? Would you foresee an earlier reinstatement of the suspended governor?
Our president, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Senator Bola Tinubu, is a Democrat to the core. He was among those who fought for the current Fourth Republic that we enjoy. I would be surprised if suddenly he changes his course from that of the Democrat to that of the dictator. If the president had declared, and the National House of Assembly assented to it, that for at least 6 months the governor remains suspended, after which he will be reinstated. I don't even think that these other meetings, these coalitions and these agreements should factor in. The question is, has the peace been restored? Since the peace was being threatened, is everything going on well in the River State? So I don't see our president going back on his promise to ask the governor to come back to his office by the 2nd week of September. If anything contrary happens, then I can say, like somebody has said, we'll begin to wish for democracy in Nigeria.
But do you also think that this might in any way bring in voter apathy during the local government election?
I don't need to think about it. It's a situation of sending for the blank. And see, which voter, for goodness sake? Those are the one induced, as usual, with those 3 to 1,000 naira. Let me ask you, or even you in the studio there, by the grace of God, I know you are to some extent living above average. You see this kind of situation happening. You go and waste your time and your energy on a queue to do what? Most people already know that for those who are insisting on this type of hogwash election, they have already decided on the result. It even happens under normal circumstances. Talk more under normal circumstances as we are in. Are you going to go out there to go and protest which votes when there are military men everywhere? You are under a military regime. It's clear. It's clear that voter party will even be worse now than in the last 2023 election that was conducted in Rivers. Then you still have some powerful individuals who lead local masses and others who are local leaders. But now, who is there? Who is there when the military has been set in place? They go and say we must follow the ballot boxes from the polling unit to the collation center. Who are you? So many people will stay at home. The young men will still play their football along the street, and then the others will go attend some family and community meetings. Just take note of it. You should have your roving editors around. They will confirm our projections that it will be the least attended electoral process in Rivers State. Talk more of just even a local government.
All right. All right, Professor Dode, let's stay a little bit with the people of Rivers State and the role they have to play in all of this. Well, conversations have been around whether the people are fatigued. When you look at all of the activities in Rivers State, have they been excluded from the conversations within the elite circle in Rivers State, which are supposed to shape their lives? Do you think that, just as we had spoken about the governor of Rivers State, the people actually have a role to play in correcting what they might consider an anomaly, considering the upcoming elections or the upcoming local government polls? How much of the people's voice can help or lend a hand in correcting what they do not like at this time?
I don't think you asking probably a firewood to bring that water. That's almost that's where that question tends to be going. What can the people do about it? Do they have a voice? If at the election you want to conduct, how many parties are going on campaign? How many communities have they visited? How many rural people know that there will be election? You know, the people have been completely silent. Look, I am no longer a Rivers State, but I'm in touch, as I said. My academic activities bring me into Rivers State at least once every month. And even when I speak with the educational elite, they are all confused. They are all downcasted. But they say, what can we say? What can we do? That is always my worry about this situation. It is stated that when good men do nothing, evil rules. And I think that is what has besieged Rivers State. Everybody is almost afraid. In fact, Rivers State has almost gone back to the 17th century state of Great Britain, where Thomas Hobbes described life as, nasty, solitude, butchery, short, and poor, where every person is hiding in a burrow. Nobody's sure tomorrow. Nobody's doing sure living. This was not the Rivers State of our time. So I can tell you, the so-called masses are in a circle of a state of fear. They're in a circle of a state of stupor. Yes, they may know what to say, but they can never say it. All hands are just crossed, and they are looking unto God. Meanwhile, God is looking unto man to help himself. So, my brother, the issue of whether the people have a state, the people have nothing to contribute to this process. What will happen on that day is that, as usual, there will be this kangaroo display of voters to register and list, and then ballot boxes will be moved from the research headquarters to the so-called polling units, and at the end of the day, they will show you areas where they have been so calm, so peaceful, they will conduct one of the interviews to legitimize the illegitimacy, and then they will come back and
well, Professor Dode, isn't that a shame, considering democracy being a government for the people?
That is what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you, that it is a democratic sham. The people have been overthrown. The people have been, their voices have not only been silent, their voices have been collected. When you say the voices have been silent, it means you can hear some echoes once in a while. But I'm saying to the what I found out finally realized is that the voices of the masses have been collected, and the few political gladiators are just playing a rough riding with the destinies of millions of Rivers State people. That is where our cry is as political analysts, that democracy has been brought to its knees in Rivers State, and it is like nothing is happening. It's like, let it go on. It is like even the so-called National Assembly has given action to an illegitimate.
But what would you rather ask the government to do at this point in Rivers State?
Very simple. I'm not just a weeping child. I have a solution. Whatever they want to do should be suspended. The democratically elected governor and the House of Assembly should be reinstated. Watch the tide gradually, ensure enough security and ground, and ensure that all parties are given equal representation, equal stake, then fix a date for the local government elections. And I can tell you, if that can be done, we will say that we are gradually returning Rivers State back to that beautiful bride that she was in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the 90s. When people came from all over the world to come and see Rivers State. You know, Boma represents also those times. Rivers State is a great state. I don't know how many of you had this kind of song in those days. So let's all be proud of Rivers State. I want to beg the sole administrator. I want to beg the presidency. I want to beg the National Assembly. Please, wait in. It's not a shame to correct an error before it goes into a crisis. Let this so-called election protected of us be suspended, and then when the democratically elected executive and legislature are reinstated, then modalities can be put on ground to conduct local government elections.
All right, Professor Dode, as we begin to wind down the conversation, given the national posture of some of Rivers' actors, how much of this would you say is about local governance, and how much is about laying groundwork towards the 2027 election? Would you say that there's a correlation in all of this, or the leaders who are pressing for the local government polls are actually concerned about
it? It is more towards the latter of the question than the earlier. It's not about local government. It's about positioning for 2027. It's about taking hold of the political structure at the local government level, because you know that is where the local government is the microcosm of the macrocosm. So once you can take hold of the political platforms, the structures at the local government level, to a large extent you can predict how the pendulum will swing in 2025. I can tell you, they will not tell you this, but that is the truth that many people have guaranteed, are giving guarantees. Once you do this, we will take hold of those structures and ensure that 2027 is delivered as we promised. So, sir, it is more about 2027 election than about bringing democratic dividends to the local government in the U.S.
All right, well, looking holistically and looking at everything that has been happening, not just in Rivers State, but in the Niger Delta region now, and also giving your insights to about 2027, how have you appraised the political realities that have been taking place so far? You're talking about the defections and moving from one party to the other, shifting alliances and all of that. Do you think, or were you expecting something like this to happen at this time?
No, as a political scientist, I never saw this coming, because I thought that we in the Niger Delta, to a large extent, have a political pedigree. You know, when I mean political pedigree, we are to a large extent predictable. And with my knowledge of politics in the Niger Delta, I know where we have always been. You know, the NPN, the PDP, but to suddenly see quite a number and jettisoning the ship of PDP that they say is thinking and going to the APC, is still all about this political survival for 2027. But I want to say that it came to me as a disappointment, because even in Rivers State, we saw how a PDP governor was sitting, and then the APC presidential candidate was. So it does not even require this complete movement from one ship to another, from a sinking ship to a floating ship. You know, it has to do more with political, with grassroots mobilization. So, because, you know, for example, now let me just be slightly empirical. I was in Akwa Ibom State for about 21 years before I moved to Delta State to continue with my career. Now, Akwa Ibom State has a gigantic PDP building. I don't know when it was built. I was there when they opened it. The question now is, so they will now go back there and repaint the building from PDP color to APC, as it's happening in Delta State. Is this all that democracy is about? Even if you are moving to APC, why not go and be the one secretary? Are you not telling me that PDP is dead? And when you have a political dispensation, a democracy without an existing opposition, is that still the democracy?
Well,
many people don't even know the essence of democracy. Democracy means that, opposition means party in waiting for power. That means whenever the people decide to have an alternative, there will be a party that is on ground. But what is happening now? Everybody has to move to one party. No, that is not the nature of democracy all over the world. You go to the advanced world, you find those who have been Democrats for over 50 years, whether they win or lose the election, they are there. Those who have been Republicans for over 50 years. But for me, sir, but I see this whole thing going back to normal because it is just a wave of time.
Well, Professor Robert Dode, I think that's a fine place to leave it. Really, we've explored some of the other conversations that should be had in subsequent conversations that we'll be having. Thank you very much for coming on Niger Delta today. We appreciate your insights and contributions to the program this afternoon.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me here. Thank you. God bless Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. God bless Niger Delta. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And with that, we come to a full square of the program on Niger Delta today. Many thanks for staying tuned. Catch you again tomorrow for another very fresh edition of Niger Delta Today. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific new week.
And I am Jennifer Pius. To have a great day.